the future of growth.
Welcome to Future of Growth, a special podcast series where we explore the dynamic landscape of Tamil Nadu's economic growth and the multifaceted initiatives propelling the state towards becoming an inclusive, sustainable, and thriving state. In this episode, we dive into the theme of building a future with inclusive entrepreneurship with our distinguished guest, Dr. Saundarya Rajesh. Dr. Saundarya is not only a highly regarded thought leader in India, but also an acclaimed social entrepreneur and author. With a career spanning over 2 decades, she's been a relentless advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, leaving an indelible mark on the corporate landscape. In this insightful episode, we'll explore the pivotal role of entrepreneurship in driving socio-economic impact across all sections of society. Dr. Saundarya will share her perspectives on how inclusive entrepreneurship contributes to Tamil Nadu's economic growth. Join us as we delve into the nuances of building a future where entrepreneurship is a powerful catalyst for positive change, creating opportunities for diverse communities, and fostering innovation among the youth. Now to our esteemed guests. Welcome, ma'am. I would say that being a woman, this was one of the most sought topic that I was looking in this entire series. I hope, it's the same with the listeners. Ma'am, in the context of inclusive entrepreneurship, how do you see the role of entrepreneurship driving socio-economic impact across all sectors of society?
So we have to understand inclusion for what it really is. Inclusion is about representation on the one hand, and it is about leveraging the power of untold stories. These are the 2 things that inclusion really stands for. The first part, which is representation, is because everyone deserves the spotlight. Everyone deserves to have the best opportunities for them to rise to the fullest of their potential. And if by being a country or a state or a city, we are not seeing those entrepreneurs, those talented people, simply because we have put them in boxes, then we stand to lose a lot. Therefore, it is very important to have representation and create pathways for such representation to happen. The second part that I said is, telling the stories that have not been told. We always have this concept in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that diversity is about correcting the mistakes of the past, because you are trying to bring in people who have never really received the attention and the space that they deserve. So that is diversity. But inclusion is preparing for a future. It means that you're looking at varied, myriad ways of thinking, of problem solving, of looking at opportunities. And when somebody does that, and that somebody is someone who's not had their story told before, then that unleashes various kinds of creativity, potential, which leads to all-round growth and performance for everybody within the ecosystem.
With the goal to create social impact, the state has special incentives for green tech, rural impact, the marginalized, and women-led enterprises. How can these incentives contribute to creating a more inclusive entrepreneurial landscape?
It's beautiful that you asked this question. When we speak about diversity and inclusion, there is that important E in the middle, which is equity. So previously, we would just talk about diversity and inclusion. Then, about 8 or 10 years ago, we realized that the circle was actually complete without this thing called equity. Now, this equity in the context of diversity, representation, bringing the marginalized to the fore, providing opportunities for the underrepresented, telling the story of the untold, all of this means that you are providing an equal platform for people to operate from. When you look at the schemes that are offered by the government of Tamil Nadu, whether it is for marginalized communities, whether it is for women, whether it is for women who have probably experienced difficulties in their lives, either through the situation, circumstance, or even natural disasters like COVID. What we are essentially doing is we are creating ways for them to be able to forego the weaknesses which are there within the system. So, any scheme, anything that provides a special recognition to a certain set of people, that really helps them to bridge the gap between them and more privileged folks. So if you're doing that and you're bringing this, you're kind of bridging that gap and you're bringing them to an level playing field, then what really happens is that they are able to operate without shackles. They are able to operate without all of the constraints that have held them back. So I believe that any such scheme, any scheme that helps in creating a green environment, any scheme that helps in speaking the tale or the potential of the marginalized, I think what that's going to do is to help everybody, not just the marginalized. And in this context, there's one more point that we have to really keep in mind, which is when you're building equitable structures. I can give you an example of equity. Very simply put, what's a ramp? When you have steps, which lead up to a building, you also have a ramp there. Now, what does the ramp do? The ramp really tells you that if you are a person with determination, and which is the way we refer to people with disability now, we call them people with determination. If you are a person with determination and you're using a wheelchair, then you and somebody who's not disabled, they will be on an equal footing because both of you can have access without any kind of pain, without any kind of disadvantage. That's what the 6-month maternity leave does. It tries to provide an equal footing for a mother to be able to peacefully go on her maternity break and come back. And there are several such schemes, both from a Tamil Nadu perspective and an India perspective, which actually focus on these gaps that such underrepresented talent pools feel, and how can we plug them with schemes, with programs, with policies, with best practices that actually create a completely level space for all of us to operate out of.
Ma'am, a very simple question. How do you see entrepreneurship as a viable option?
Yeah, and that's a beautiful question. So, this entire analogy of, if you want to feed a man a day, give him a fish. If you want to feed him for a lifetime, teach him fishing. If you are a social entrepreneur, you actually come and completely upturn the fishing industry. That's what social entrepreneurs do. So, I'm speaking now specifically about social entrepreneurship, not just entrepreneurship. I believe that when you are into entrepreneurship for a social purpose, and you are either addressing or fixing a problem that has been felt by many but enunciated by none, and you then make it your life's purpose to kind of talk about it, to do whatever you can to combat it, then what in effect you're doing is you're leaving behind a legacy, first of all. And you're telling everybody that, doing good business is actually good for business. If you're going to be doing something that, that helps people, I'll give you my own example. I dropped off the workforce, a couple of decades ago. And when I looked around for a job opportunity for somebody who comes back from a break, and, a company that would be understanding of women's needs, especially the Indian woman professional, probably especially for a woman from Tamil Nadu, whose culture and whose setup is so unique and so different, she needs all those enablers if she has to, rise to her fullest potential. I found no such company. So Avatar, the company that I founded and still continue to run and lead, we became India's first organization to actually espouse the cause of formal return to work programs for women. And that social entrepreneurship today has led to more than 100,000 women finding jobs after re-emerging from the break. And there are many such examples. So, what becomes a problem for one person, if they are able to enunciate it and if they are able to address it using everything that a for-profit commercial business does for products that they produce. So you will use technology, you will use the voice of the people, you will use research, you use data. And when you bring all of this together and you create a social enterprise, I think what you're in effect doing is you're changing the course of history.
Ma'am, you very rightly pointed out with an example about fishing. I just wanted to understand, exploring the broader concept of circular economy, how can inclusive entrepreneurship play a role in promoting sustainability and responsible business practices?
So, whenever you look at India's history, you will always find that all the terminologies, all the, pardon my saying so, jargon that we today use, and we believe we have invented it just now, it's very humbling to note that all of this has been at play for centuries in this country of ours. If you take Tamil Nadu, for instance, with its unique culture, its unique climatic conditions, the way in which the entire, Tamilian movement, the way in which the history has been shaped, which is probably one of the absolutely oldest, most hoary histories in the entire, memory of mankind. I think, we would find that sustainability has been at the root of absolutely everything we do. This circular economy that we speak about, and today there is a very pressing need for it. In fact, I would even call it a burning platform need for focusing on sustainability, for the simple fact that we are really running out. We are running out of time. We are running out of resources. We are running out of excuses. So it's now very imperative that any business which comes into play, even a new business which is being set up, and existing businesses should definitely focus on the 3-letter mantra, which is ESG: environment, social, and governance, which forms the absolute bedrock on which sustainability thrives. So I think it's important for new businesses and for existing businesses to take a good hard look at their business model and to see if, are we being true and honest to the environment? Are we doing our best to make sure that we are giving back rather than constantly consuming? Likewise, in the social part, are we, being fair to every human interaction that we have within our business? It could be, a human interaction with your own employees. It could be with your customers. It could be with the larger vendor ecosystem that you are a part of and that you use. And it's the overall community. So, do we keep the principles of human rights? Do we keep the principles of community service? Do we keep the principles of really providing the best working climate to our people? And is this something that we are building into our business model straight away, so that when we count our EBITDA at the end of the day, we are not looking at these as expense items, but we are really looking at it as a sustainability practice? And likewise in governance, doing good things, making sure you have a robust system of good practices, having a great, for instance, a great whistleblower policy, having a good POSH policy, having an ICC committee that is actually functioning. All of these are part, and the transparency and the openness with which business is done, these are all a part and parcel of what we call ESG. And this then feeds into what we speak about in terms of sustainability. And once a company has a strong ESG practice, I think the circular economy kind of automatically sort of results. And one of the things I'd really like to, state and request organizations that are looking at setting up in Tamil Nadu, I would say that there are so many best practices, there are so many models rich in data, rich with the kind of rewards they have provided to people who have followed them, which are already existing in Tamil Nadu. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel at all. All we just need to do is to look at these practices, pick up whichever is most suitable for our industry, our vertical, our segment, and just put it into practice and make it into a discipline.
Ma'am, you did mention that Avatar is a millennial baby. I'm sure that you had a set of challenges that you had to deal with when this baby was born and to where it is today. Can you tell us something about those challenges that you had to face and how you overcame them? And how do you see the future and the challenges that are there and how they can be overcome?
Got it. So I started Avatar in the year 2000, and that was really in response to my own search for that utopian organization which could actually provide a very warm and welcoming workplace to women who wanted to achieve. Women never want a favor. Women always want opportunity. And that opportunity often comes disguised as, enablers, as an understanding boss, as a very sensitive environment that helps her to rise to her potential. And in the year 2000, we found that such organizations were mythical. They didn't exist. They were only there in my dreams. So we set out, therefore, to create those organizations. So even before we began finding job opportunities for the Indian woman professional, we believed that we should create that environment into which we would place her. In fact, I'm delighted to share at this juncture that Chennai was India's first city where a formal return to work program was first experimented with very successfully, and 140 women who had taken varied career breaks of several years, ranging from 2 years to 18 years, found their first return to work jobs with Standard Chartered Bank right here in Chennai. And this is India's first recorded instance of a formal return to work program. What was the challenge I faced then? The challenge then and today is what we call non-conscious biases. In fact, we have a very interesting term for it, and if you visit our portal, www.avatarinc.com, you will find it there. We call it the dirty dozen. This is 12 prominent biases, which invariably every one of us, irrespective of our gender identity, we all possess it. We are all afflicted by it. And when I, started off Avatar, saying that, hey, we are here in the space of finding jobs for women, creating a workplace that is very welcoming for women and so on, nobody took us seriously because everybody felt, and the bias could be a big reason here, that there was no purpose to, first of all, empowering women, as we speak, and also the thought that women had to play by the same rules that men were playing by, and not taking into account at all that women have been given a very different biological role, by the universal energy, because of which today, women have certain responsibilities that they have to fulfill and which can never be, taken away. They have to do it one way or the other. So the fact that there were all of these biases at play, when somebody, a new voice, came to talk about the fact that women's workforce participation is essential for everyone. It's essential for the women. It's essential for her family. It's essential for her to build confident children. It's essential for the state in which she lives in, the city, the community. And yes, it is essential to increase the GDP of her country. So when we started saying this, those non-conscious biases were very, very deeply at play. You can read about them everywhere. You call them affinity bias. So if somebody looks like you and they say something, you're more likely to listen to it than if somebody wears a sari, and tries to break into the what we call the old boys club. So that's there. And then you have the horn bias, you have the halo bias, you have the projection bias, and you have a bunch of such biases. Now, fast forward to 23 years, and we will be completing our 23rd anniversary on the 3rd of December. The fact is, we are looking at new challenges that have come up. And these are challenges which are really related to the maturity of organizations when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there are companies which really wear their heart on their sleeves and they say, listen, we are here to create sustainable businesses. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is the cornerstone of sustainability. Because if you don't have that, then there's no guarantee that your business is going to be sustainable. So we are now finding different levels of maturity. So therefore, the challenge that we face today is not to prove the concept, it's proven, thankfully, but to enhance and accelerate the speed of adoption. So how soon can we get maybe 1,000 companies in Tamil Nadu to actually practice diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's not expensive. It's the easiest thing to do. It calls for a lot of inward changes, which a company like Avatar is happy to support. So can we look at making that? So today we consult for about 800 companies across the country. Can we make that 800 companies in Chennai? Can we make that 10,000 companies, around the state? Can we accelerate that pace of adoption of these best practices relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Tamil Nadu as a state boasts of a lot of homegrown industries, and today we have a beeline of international MNCs who are coming to establish shop here. Ma'am, do you see any difference in approach towards inclusivity and diversity by both these sections?
That's a beautiful question. So, when homegrown companies did it, when homegrown companies had a policy, for helping and empowering women, when our own homegrown businesses had rules and regulations when it came to supporting underprivileged and underrepresented people, we just called it compassion. We just called it our value. We just called it, this is the way we do business here in Tamil Nadu. However, what we received from multinational companies who had a very big role to play, in shaping our thought, was that this could be done, not just because one leader believed in it or one leader had the charisma to be able to push it through for maybe 2 or 3 generations, but make it the absolute fulcrum on which the business operates. So do not make it personality led, but make it the way we do business. Make it into something which actually has a business value at the end of it. So rather than making it sound like charity, rather than making it sound like, this is something we're doing because we feel generous, I think what the multinational companies really taught us was that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not, anything to do with CSR. CSR is different. It is what you do because you want to really give back to the society and you want to do it with philanthropy in mind. But diversity, equity, and inclusion is simply a very effective strategy to increase both your top line and bottom line. And this was something the multinational companies really taught us. If you look at American organizations, many of them are here in Tamil Nadu. If you look at French companies, if you look at companies which have come from South Korea, from Japan, and a whole host of other countries which are based here, they have very beautifully brought the ethos of their home country, and their values and the way in which they have embedded diversity, equity, and inclusion into their practices. Now, a company like us, like Avatar, what we have done is we have compiled a lot of these best practices, and each year we bring out a compendium which is called the Best Companies for Women in India. And there are many companies from Tamil Nadu which occupy a pride of place there. So it would be my suggestion, to all organizations which are present here and companies which are looking to set up base in Tamil Nadu with its immense opportunities that are available. to embed diversity, equity, and inclusion into the way you do business, into every aspect of your business, which means, are you having supplier diversity? Do you have a robust diversity ratio in your workplace? A robust diversity ratio is anything where you have a male female ratio of 40-60, or even 30-70. Those are supposed to be good ratios. If you have a 50-50 gender balance, then that's perfect. That's fantastic. So, do you have diversity there? Do you have pay equity? Do you have diversity in your board? Do you have diversity in your senior leadership? Do you have diversity in the customer segments that you serve? Do you have inclusion that is practiced, right through the organizational hierarchy? Do you have male allies who are supportive of women? Do you have diversity allies who are supportive of every, non-majority, underrepresented, person who is actually coming into your workplace? So can you do this? And is it very esoteric? Is it very difficult? Absolutely not. Can you do this? Yes, you definitely can. And there are some very, very simple ways in which it's very easy to embed these into the organization at a stage where you begin seeing the ROI of it very clearly. And I'm going to say this, and there might be some objections to this too, but I will still go ahead and say it. I would like organizations to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion as a strategy, not as a nice thing to do. I think you have to look at it, give it its due space as a business strategy, and look at it for the kind of benefit that it has delivered for multiple organizations around the globe, even within India. The companies that have focused early on diversity, equity, and inclusion, one of the times when they were able to prove that their DEI culture really stood strong was during the VUCA time of COVID. And we, from Avatar, we were able to really witness those companies which had embedded these systems very early on. They were able to come out of it so easily and in such a powerful manner, rather than companies which were hesitant to invest in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Ma'am, towards this goal of achieving inclusive entrepreneurship, how do you see the role of SMEs and MSMEs today?
Yeah. If you take Tamil Nadu, and you have your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and I would say, even though Chennai would be technically one tier 1 city, I think Coimbatore is a tier 1 city too. Madurai is fast becoming a tier 1 city. And you have the very strong tier 2 cities and towns in Tamil Nadu. And then you have your other smaller, district headquarters and, smaller cities and towns, which are absolute hubs of economic activity of different kinds. Now, let me tell you a very interesting fact about women. Soon after COVID, everybody believed that all women, want to work from home, and all women want to only, have flexible jobs. Both of these are misnomers. There are a large percentage of women who want to come to office and work. And there is a large percentage of women who actually welcome predictability more than flexibility. So the point I'm making here is, if we are looking at an equitable society where we are providing a lot of opportunities for women, both as employees who work in organizations and as entrepreneurs, we need a very rich and robust small and medium business ecosystem to empower that. And I'll tell you why. Like I said, women prefer to be near home. They are not looking at working from home. They also don't want to commute for half their lives. They want to work in places which are near their homes, near their cities and towns of origin. So if I'm able to create a hub for women, which is probably near where, she was born or where her ancestral home is, she is going to be thrilled and delighted about it, and she is going to respond to that opportunity by upskilling herself. And this is what we have seen at Avatar, and we work with more than 3.5 lakh women here at Avatar. We find that when women are presented with opportunities, they seize them with both hands, and they really make it a priority to upskill themselves and make themselves ready to be valuable to take up that opportunity. So I think that small and medium enterprises, the more we have them in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities and towns of Tamil Nadu, and the more we are able to impress upon them the value of a diverse, equitable and inclusive workspace, I think it's going to be win-win for everybody all around.
Ma'am, as Tamil Nadu evolves as a hub for inclusive entrepreneurship, can you share any other insight that you think will make this happen faster?
Yes, I have a call to action for the women in Tamil Nadu. I think today there is a very shining Tamil Nadu that we are expecting and we are hoping for, and we are already witnessing. There are going to be opportunities aplenty. There are going to be new businesses, new companies which set up shop here. There are going to be companies that are far more focused on sustainability, which are going to be reinventing themselves and their own policies and programs. And we are going to have companies that are going to champion diversity, equity, and inclusion in their workplaces simply because it means a lot of business. Now, in this kind of a very ebullient ecosystem, I think we women shouldn't be left behind. We must demonstrate career intentionality. We must do everything it takes to be the best candidate for the job. We must put our hands up whenever we see opportunities around us. And we must look at our lives being a great work-life integrated process where we have equal opportunities for both, the avatars we play at home and the avatar that we can play at the workplace. So I would say that, to every Tamil woman and to every woman who is, who calls Tamil Nadu her home, I would say this is the time for you to probably become really career intentional. Check out how employable you are. Even if you are employed, doesn't do a harm to do a reality check to see how much more opportunities can come your way. I would say upskill yourself and stay career intentional.
Thank you once again for joining in this special podcast series. I don't think anyone else could have explained it so beautifully on the topic of inclusive entrepreneurship. And also to know that Tamil Nadu is doing so extremely well, and we seem to be on the right track towards achieving this goal of social impact through inclusive entrepreneurship. Thank you all. I'm sure you found the conversation we had with Dr. Saundarya Rajesh very, very engaging and very optimistic towards the goal that the state is looking forward to. So until next time, this is Yarni signing off on Future of Growth.
The future of growth.